disgust me. What blindness afflicted Patriarch and Montgolfier that they thought so highly of you. I see your game, and I think I know who you really are. I thus invite you to my chamber. Here I will rend you limb from limb.
Well, yeah, I know who you are too, Mr. Bony Birdcage. I really need to work on my comebacks. Anyway, this music's different. Obviously, he can't go in the same chamber as the previous two arenas. In fact, I'm amazed this fight works so well, considering that he can't move. Attack power is no more or less important than in any other fight. Speed is extremely useful. More useful than defense, although defense is more useful in this fight than in some others. And I'll still use my precious violet as a buffer because I'm just not that reckless despite everything you've heard and seen to the contrary. Other than that, when you hear his voice, it'll be completely different. That's because they didn't make every single voice actor recite the chants to all the colours. So it's not that big a deal, but it's fairly noticeable here. Let's break some bones.
Violet, vibrant, chameleon of colors, mysterious tale, lair of the arcane. Come to my call, aid in my vengeance. Battling a hideous, wicked, unfamiliar foe. Help me. By lies and deceit, the one who challenges my righteousness shall die. The one who watched me in hope of exposing my weakness. Be blind. His color shall fail. His hammer shall fall. His voice shall quiver. Formidable azure, approaching storm, bringer of death, searing whip, executioner's blade, open to the heart of thy lowly servant, to the one approaching as storm, cutting as axe, rising as death, to me praying to thee, answer. My foe to the depths of pain, into the vortex of suffering. Throw, while you torture, tear him from within. Be slow, when he cries out to thee, his voice begging mercy. Be silent.
Okay, near the start of this fight, I went all the way to the very top and jumped towards a thing before falling all the way down to the bottom. That was an Easter egg. It was one of the developers' avatars. I think he's changed it now. The elixir. I mentioned it before, I called him the LXR, so now I can rectify that. He really only has one attack at first, which he does more frequently later on, so it's going to take a while for that. Until then, the attack glyph I'll be using is Owl, which I just picked up last fight, because it homed straight in on him. Otherwise, Hawk would be a very good bet too. It's quite hard to judge when it will hit him to match up with his vulnerability, but I think that's going quite well. Of course, you can just stand underneath him, and then you're pretty much guaranteed to get a hit in within a couple of seconds. That one failed, I'm not sure why. The Owl glyph is one of the easiest ones to draw. It also doesn't have a 32 droplet maximum amount, and it says that if you put too much in, it will explode of its own accord. It's never happened to me, and I doubt I'll show it off here, because it sounds like a huge waste I could do without. His thrown attack is quite easy to dodge, just keep moving in one direction and you'll avoid it completely. Add haste if you feel you need it, and it will track you as you go up the spiralling walkway, so there's no escape. Or actually, there is escape, there's just nowhere to hide. I'm certain that it has caused me problems at one time or another, but as I am now, I can't imagine it ever being any more than a minor nuisance. That's his second attack that he does when you've knocked one of his wheels off. I didn't get hit by it despite standing still, so I'll definitely try and show that off, but not sure how I managed to dodge that one. Maybe the upper limit for the owl is 50, and you can attack him whilst he's on the ground, it's just quite hard to do, he's not there for very long. If you enter this fight without any aerial attack glyphs, then you're in serious trouble, and that's what I had to go through the second time I fought him, I believe. So attacking him on the ground was really my only opportunity, and I couldn't really draw wasps very well back then either. Nightmare. Again, I'm finding the need to apologise here. I don't know, In my experience, you can run as much as you want, that attack will virtually always hit you. Trying to fake him out at the last second is pretty much the only way to go. I eventually determined that haste was a virtual necessity for avoiding it, but it turns out that standing around is also a very viable tactic. I'm trying not to attack him too much, just get it down to a little bit and then... Poor show warden, are you feeling alright? Maybe he can sense when you move around and can grab you quite easily, but when you just stay still, he's got no clue. I think he's supposed to predict your next movement, but it's really hard to calibrate as it is. I suppose I'll just try running around in a complete frenzy and see if that works instead. I've never come across a fight where I've had to stop letting them hit you in order to let them hit you. I really like this music, it's very haunting and resonating, and even more so with me because it reminds me of Paralysed by the Cardigans. The introduction at least. I have a pretty varied music taste. It's basically, I'll listen to anything as long as it's good. Come on, Warden. Letting us down here. There we go, so now you can take my word for it that when that happens every single time and you can't find any way to avoid it, it seems to always catch up on you no matter what you do. You can't hide under anything, you can't jump out the way at the last second. It's actually quite terrifying and vicious. In this case it sadly was not. Ineffectual, glassy stare. Doesn't scare me, you're a disappointment to everyone. And don't tell me you never jumped on the fleshless sternum of your fallen enemies. Sometimes the next course of action is incredibly obvious, even if a little weird. Oh, damn it again. Okay, Sleeper! This glyph uses rock to create a sleeping golem that can be thrown in any direction. The more colour is used to create the golem, the farther the golem can be thrown. Waking the thrown golem with colour turns it into a trap that will explode when touched. This is not true. The more colour is used to awaken the golem, the larger the explosion will be. Originally you could grab and throw the golems like an object in a Valve game, but not here. And it's another really painfully hard to draw one. I'll definitely learn that for next time. And I was sitting directly on top of the portal to the way out, which was in the centre of the room, so I got kicked out with much abruptness. So, whilst you wonder whether that's an actual word, I will leave you just as abruptly, and next time I will collect my main garden spoils. See you then.